Hey, how you doing? This is Stu Levy, and with Super 40. So this is week three of my Ironman training. First ever Ironman. Just completed week three, so I wanted to give the weekly update. Um, I'm doing this once again, not to get a zillion views, but just so I can get on record kind of how this was, so that maybe, I don't know, 20 years from now, I'll look back and go, God, I really worked out back then, didn't I? Um, while I'm limping around from old age. Anyways, this week, technically, my week started on Monday, and today's Monday. So technically, today was the first day of week four, which means last Monday, the Boston Marathon was technically the first day of week three. This Boston Marathon thing, as I talked about last week, kind of I was really worried about whether running the marathon so early in my Ironman training during my Ironman training at all, whether that was going to hurt my Ironman training and that was going to distract it or will veer it on a course that's not good for the Ironman. Because obviously, in a typical training course for Ironman, a 20-week course, you don't have run a marathon in your third week. So I kind of jiggered it, and because I don't have a coach, I'm doing this training without a coach. I have a friend's plan that I'm using, but I'm doing this solo. So I didn't really have anyone to ask their opinion, but I've been doing kind of endurance sports for a few years now, so I knew the main thing was during my recovery to not have my knee get messed up from working my IT band too hard and pulling the knee or getting some sort of micro tear in the knee, which I've done in other marathons. In fact, it's pretty common for me to do that, to push myself, to pull my speed beyond my limit or kind of at my limit, and then a week later after running again, I get a lot of pain, and then I'm suddenly have to deal with physical therapy for a month or two. I really, really don't want to do that. Knock on wood. I'm a week out. It still could happen. I haven't been running a lot. This week was all about kind of gentle recovery while still doing a lot of physical activity, and that meant mainly trying not to run much. I swam the day after the marathon. I swam 2,000 meters, which was really great. Swimming the day before and swimming the day after, especially 40 minutes, an hour. That's a great way, I think, to kind of prep yourself for a marathon and come out of it as well. So I was really happy that I did that. Then I had to fly back to LA that night because this was in Boston, of course. And once I got back into LA, the next day, I had some biking that I was doing, a little bit more swimming, that sort of thing. I did have a run, but I did it on the treadmill. I think I ran, 7, almost 8 miles on the treadmill. I just didn't want to go on hard surfaces quite yet. And then the weekend came, and the weekends on this training plan are that's the big time. And I bought a bike. If you can see it, kind of back there, it's a Cervelo P2, which is pretty awesome. And so I rode that bike on my first long ride with that bike on Saturday, the weekend of this third week. I rode 85 miles out in the desert. A lot of elevation gain, about 1,300 meters of total elevation gain. Net, I think it might be closer to around 450 because there's descents as well. But if you're just talking about gain, just adding all the climbs together, it's about 1,300 meters, very close to the Ironman that I'll be running in Hokkaido, Japan, which is about 1,400 meters. It's a tough bike course, and this desert ride kind of emulated it. It's not quite the same because the Hokkaido climbs are a little bit not quite as steep, but longer. So in other words, I think there's like a 10-kilometer climb. I have no idea what that's going to be like. It's just probably going to be hell. And there's actually one or two that are even steeper than the one in the desert. So all in, maybe I think Hokkaido is a little bit tougher than my ride on Saturday, but there was a decent amount of wind, so it was a challenge. But this bike was pretty fast. I averaged about 16 and a half miles per hour. Did it in about a little bit less than 5.5 hours. I think on my old bike, my old Trek road bike that I've done all my races in, and it's an old bike from the early 90s. I think that bike would have averaged maybe 12. I mean, seriously, it's that much of a difference. I was in a lot of pain though on this bike because I'm not used to the positioning, and I think it still needs some fitting. I have to take it back to the shop because I kind of rushed it out the door, knowing I would come back. So that was the bike ride, and then the day after, I was out in the desert. The day after, I went to the Lake Mead in Nevada, and I did a lake swim, my first open water swim of the season. Wore a wetsuit that is pretty new wetsuit, an Xterra wetsuit that I bought. I wasn't a fan of this wetsuit. It was leaky. I'm not sure why. Maybe my back wasn't on all the way, but it was kind of leaking in from different areas. And compared to my Orca suit that I've got now out in Japan, it wasn't as good of a wetsuit. I didn't like it as much. It did give me a little bit more freedom, I think, on the swim. Like the Orca's a bit tight, so in that sense, I guess it was nice. But it didn't do much protecting me from the water. I was pretty much, inundated with cold water, which sucks because I hate cold water. But I probably banged out 2K, a little bit more in the lake, which was good to get in an open water swim like that. And then I was going to run right after, but like an idiot, I didn't bring my shoes. So I drove back. I met a cousin of mine for lunch and then drove back to LA, which was a horrible drive, like 6 hours. Then I got home, I don't know, close to 11 and didn't want to give up on my run. So I ended up running 10 miles past midnight. And it was actually kind of nice. The weather wasn't bad. It was pretty nice weather. No cars. I just ran through the city late at night and got in my 10 miles. And that was that. So I think I pulled off my week pretty well. My body's kind of tired. I feel like it's going through another phase of a little bit of exhaustion. Not as bad as the first week because I was coming off so much horrible travel and the Ragnar relay, and I was sick. But I do feel tired again. My body is like craving some rest. So I'm going to try to go sleep a bit early tonight. I didn't sleep as much last night as I should have, and I've been having some insomnia. So plan on getting an early night's sleep and continuing with week 4 in Los Angeles this week. So that's my week 3 report out of the 20 weeks. 17 more to go. First ever Ironman. Thanks a lot for those of you that are listening, and I'd love for people to share their experiences. So thanks once again. My name's Stu Levy with Super 40.